I'm going to talk about Pinay power, which I learned from my friend Marilyn Mondejar. And I met Marilee, I don't even remember the year, but it had to have been about 15 years ago, right? We were part of maybe 5 women that met at it was at the World Affairs Council, and we were putting together the first International Women's Day. And Marilee showed up, and she was starting up an organization for Filipinas here in the city. And I have watched her and watched this organization grow to now, she says 10,000 because it's gone global. And there is this huge diaspora out there. And I've learned so much about this country through Marilee. And she encouraged me to go to Manila with her when Mayor Newsom took a trade mission over there. And I have to say that was one of the best trips I ever had. Marilee is a serious activist. She is a businesswoman and a grassroots organizer, but she's also a lot of fun to travel with. But I went to a country that I probably would have never gone to, and we don't hear much about the Philippines. Now, everybody knows about the Philippines, and Marilee can tell you how many women are running for office. We have a Supreme Court justice, but we're talking about Marilee. Marilee came to this country, I'm not sure how many years ago. It had to have been over 20 because I know her sons are in their 20s. She came over as a domestic violence survivor. She had to leave her country to survive, brought her 2 little boys over. So she is a fearless advocate on that issue. And she chairs the Friends of the San Francisco Commission on the Status of Women, which means that she has put together this stellar group of women that raise money for the commission so that they can do things that aren't in the city budget. I could go on, but I want you to meet Marilee. And also on our table, we have an article out there that says, Pinay Power, Filipina Power, which we wrote after we came back from the Philippines. And while we were there, we happened to be there at a time when the first Filipina actually took a case to court for being raped by US soldiers out of Subic Bay. They put her in the van, he raped her, they threw her out on the street. But of course, you know, in the streets in Manila outside the city, people live out there, you know, we would call it suburbs. So by the time these guys got back to the base, the Filipino police were there because the people picked her up and she reported it. And it took a year for them to actually indict this Marine. However, before we left the Philippines, the US government had taken custody of him and he was sent back to the US. We never knew. We tried to track, but we don't know what happened. Marilee stays on these things, and she has grown this organization again to, I'm sure, more than 10,000. So it is my personal and professional pleasure to give a Circle of Courage Award to Marilee Mondejar. Well, she loves bling bling.
So you made a bling bling for me. Whoa. Thank you, Marilyn. So thank you. This is really very humbling and wow, Circle of Courage Award. I emailed her and I said, what does that mean? Because I certainly did not think it was courageous when I came to the US, not knowing anyone to leave an abusive marriage so I can get a divorce. There is no divorce in the Philippines. It was, you know, then and still now. I certainly did not think it was courageous to leave the comfort of my family an extended family around me to come to a country with 2 young sons to start a new life. I was actually afraid. I certainly did not think it was courageous to disrupt my family and my professional life to start all over again. In fact, it took years for my younger son to understand and to forgive me for what I did to his life. He was afraid for me, he said. I learned later. You made me remember these things, but all I knew and what drove me was why this man who said he loved me beat me up because he said he loved me. I knew it was wrong, and I didn't know why, and I wanted to know and understand why, and to find people who would validate this is wrong. So were it not for newfound friends and a circle of friends through the years, and with Marilyn, I would not be here today with my bling bling. Marilyn has been an early mentor, a femtor, I would like to call her. And I still remember, it was at the World Affairs Council when a group of us were planning the first International Women's Day celebration. And she took me under her wing, and I was telling her about this group that I founded, and she's been an advisor, a counselor, and a dear friend to me and to my group, the Filipino Women's Network. Maya Angelou said, when you give, when you get, give, when you learn, teach, and I have been trying to follow that path. Which led me to the founding of Filipino Women's Network. And yes, it's now about 13,000 because we've gone global, and a global network of Filipino women in diaspora. Many of them, like me, left our country seeking economic, social, political, and personal opportunities to improve their lives. And I have committed myself and the Filipino Women's Network to help them in their search for these opportunities. But I've always wondered why thousands of women leave their families, leave the country for other places, disrupting their lives. And I'll never know quite why, but I thought I would do something about it. And that's why I've now started dialogues with elected and influential officials in the Philippines to address some of these issues. And this is my home now. The US is my home now. As my son would always remind me whenever I plan a trip to the Philippines and I say, hey, I'm going home. And he would say, this is home now, Mom. And indeed, this is my home. An organization that I lead has a long way to go. We still are searching for that voice, a representation of our issues, just like many of you share. We have one elected official in San Francisco, Hydra Mendoza, in the school board, one elected official in the California Assembly, Rob Bonta, one elected official in the Maryland legislature. We do have a dozen of elected officials in Hawaii. One of them is Rita Cabanilla, is currently the majority floor leader in the House of Representatives. And of course, I'm proudest that our California Chief Justice was elected, and she's Filipina, Chief Justice Tani Gore Cantil Sacauwe. We have long names, we Filipino women. And she wanted to honor her mother, her father, and her husband. So that's why all of the lawyers have to learn her long name. But in the corporate world, we have a long way to go. So my work is cut out. Thank you for reminding me all the time, Marilyn, and for being with me all these years, because this award will remind me, and it will always represent the voice of my mom, the first feminist I ever knew, that voice that I always hear, that don't depend on anyone else for your livelihood. Be the person to sign the paycheck, not expecting for one. Make sure you always have extra cash. Walking around money, she would say, put it in your bra. I have a lot of space under here. But most of all, share your gifts, your blessings. I think I lived the life that she wanted to live, but most of all, she said, continue to build your resume, not of degrees and accomplishments, which I thought I would do, but a resume of the life that you want to live and the life that you want to live for your community. So thank you for this honor.